Today on NDT, we have a gentleman from across the country in New England, where I'm from, actually. His name is Justin Bryan, and he has a debut album called Unclean and Sober. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Peter, for having me. And I took a quick look at one of your bios online, and I saw that you hail from the same prestigious college that I do, CCRI. Of
Oh,
course, you went on to other things as well, and so did I. But I saw that we had that commonality.
did you go to Battlestar Galactica or the one in the Lincoln campus?
I went to both. Yes,
I went to Battlestar Galactica.
the one in Warwick is like some kind of a fortress. It's a very odd looking building. I don't know who designed it, but it looks like it could survive a very heavy battle.
When I was there, I took astronomy one and two, not astrology, astronomy. In fact, my astronomy teacher was very adamant about not talking about astrology. But she used to have us come in at 2, 3, 4 in the morning because there was something going on out in space. And they, as you know, they have their own observatory there.
They do.
And well, back in the day, I was a bit of a stoner, so it was kind of fun going into the observatory and taking pictures of Saturn, where you're like, "Wow!" I actually have my own pictures of Saturn with the telescope they had there.
It's
Very
quite
cool
amazing what
place.
you could see in the observatory, I'm sure,
So,
especially with a little enhancement.
so tell us what was your what did you start off at community college doing?
Well, I probably did enough community college to actually have two bachelor degrees to start off with. I think I did one stint at CCRI when I was in my early 20s. And I don't really think that I was ready for the academic pursuit at that point. So I probably wasted a lot of money failing biology courses and things like that. But then I went back and I did paralegal studies, and I actually, got an associate's in paralegal studies. Worked in that field for a little bit, actually finding expert witnesses for very high-end medical malpractice cases. So that gave me a kind of a good background in the medical field as well, because I had to do a lot of reading and research on potential expert witnesses, usually for plaintiff side cases, which can be difficult to find experts for. So that's what I did at CCRI, and
You
it
know,
actually ended up, working out well.
I don't know one musician who has not had a zigzagging career. I mean, even mine's kind of like Swiss cheese. But let's talk about you. So, Justin, you also have a very unusual day job. You are a chaplain with a hospice organization.
Yes.
Ah, and you also get to incorporate your music into it, which of course allows you to play for those who are transitioning into the next world. And you get to talk with them about it too. That sounds like a very interesting job. So, when I was listening to your album, Unclean and Sober, it sounds like you may have had an addiction.
Well, I would call it more an issue moderating at times.
Okay.
So, and it was an issue moderating that I kind of fought with on and off for a long time. There are those who have, issues with alcohol or whatnot that don't admit it and they ignore it and they can't face it. And I was the exact opposite. If you listen to some of the lyrics in my songs, you'll hear that I was actually tortured by my inability to kind of like moderate. So I will give you the I'll give you the travel of that case. Basically, I've always been an extremely functional person, despite, but being in the rock and roll scene and growing up that way, it was always a party scene. I'm an acoustic guitar player and a singer, and, I play out in bars and more bars and restaurants, and you know what kind of a life that can be.
I did well. I was not playing out when I was married,
Mhm.
but you can watch episode, I think it's 10 or 12 to find out why. I won't go into it, but
Sure.
you have been incorporating music into all of aspects of your life.
Every part of it, every part of it. It
And you're,
bleeds
and
bleeds
you're
in.
married.
I am married. I've been married for 27 glorious years to my wonderful wife, who is probably the most supportive person in my life when it comes to music. She is the one who, throughout my entire career, being out late nights over and over and over and over, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, she has always allowed me the freedom to do what I do. And part of the reason is because I've never abused that, right? So I do what I do and then I go home to my wife, and I'm very happy to do that. But she's very, very supportive, despite me having had times in my life where I was out 4 or 5 nights a week and working a full-time job.
So that was the question I was going to ask, is if you played live performances in clubs and bars and you're still doing that.
Yes.
When you're playing over for your clients during the daytime, do you ever well, does that change your performance? And I mean, obviously you're playing for a captive audience, and do
Sure.
they ever tell you to stop?
Well, every now and then, sometimes people can't speak for themselves when they're in that position. I work in a field that deals with end of life, and end of life can have many stages. If I'm playing music for somebody at the bedside and I get the sense, even, nonverbal visual cues that it may not be helpful to them at that point, then I will stop. As a chaplain, what I do is provide spiritual support to families, well, patients and families, in a hospice setting that is not an inpatient hospice. It is a hospice that goes into nursing facilities, long-term care facilities, and some hospital patients and home patients. My main job and goal there is obviously to support people spiritually and emotionally from a non-sectarian point of view, to know who you are and what's important to you and meet you there in that space of difficulty and pain and uncertainty. And part of what I do is I incorporate music into some of my care for patients. Many of our patients are in nursing homes and they don't have a lot of access to outside people or family. I've found with patients with dementia and Alzheimer's, music brings the life out of them. It unlocks a part of them that is hidden away, and they're unable to communicate with the outside world like they once did.
As a chaplain who wrestles with faith, like, I don't know if that means agnostic. I know it doesn't mean atheist, but it's sort of like on one day, God's good, and on the other day, it's sort of like when sports teams, they both pray to Jesus that they're going to win. But what happens when one doesn't win? Does that mean Jesus doesn't love you? I don't know. So because of that nasty condition we call being human, how do those doubts find voice in your music, particularly with an album called Unclean and Sober?
Sure, sure. Well, the existential part of life for me, the spiritual part of life, has been a long and winding road, as it often is for human beings, because the spiritual part of life is often a search for something that we don't even know exactly what we're looking for: meaning, hope, purpose, reasoning, why are we here? There's a lot to it. Okay. I have basically, growing up in New England, a Catholic background, baptized.
Me too.
Most of us in this area, I mean, 90% of my hospice patients are Catholic. In my early 20s, I veered off into evangelical land. And that's where I really started to unleash my inner spirituality, for lack of a better way. And I was very enthralled by it. I met the Bible for the first time. It met me, and I was enthralled with it. It was a part of a pretty good size evangelical church in Massachusetts. For a while as assistant pastor, I received my master's degree in ministry and theology at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. So along the way, there was a time where I was very fervent in my Christian beliefs. I was your average evangelical that believed that the Bible was inerrant in every way and to be taken literally. in everything that the evangelical fundamentalist kind of conservative faith lays out. But even in the midst of that, I had deep, deep doubts, things that I could not reconcile for myself. And to make a very long story and just cut it short, I left that church. I went through a very dark time of searching and not knowing where I was going and thinking that part of my life had been all a complete waste.
Are you talking about Catholicism specifically?
No, I'm talking about my time in the evangelical world.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you left Catholicism for evangelical.
Yes, and then I left evangelical for freedom.
Oh, okay. Because the reason I say that is I also left the Catholic Church. They talk a lot about the devil speaking in forked tongue. Well, they speak in pitchforked tongue. I thought I listened to your whole album. You're really good. I
Thank you.
noticed though that you don't have a huge following, and that you were telling me that you just made the album because you wanted to, and that you really had no marketing plan in mind. And when I saw that, I thought, wow. So I put you on a playlist and on Spotify,
Yeah.
and I noticed you got a few more followers. I mean, I'm not doing great either. I mean, I've interviewed people, almost everyone. Well, actually, you're the first who has less than me. Almost everyone has more followers than me. I'm going to see if we can change that for you because I like your music. And the odd thing about your music was that I know you do all of it yourself organically, no AI. And I had a guest on the show who does use AI to write music. His name is Kevin Pleasant. He uses it very constructively. He argues with AI because AI wants to change his songs. He admits he can't sing. He doesn't have the coordination to play an instrument. And when your song came up, because he likes Tom Petty and I think you do too.
I do. Yeah, I'm a big
I thought that too, because his song came up randomly after I heard yours. I was like, now that's weird. But he admits freely that he uses AI, but he only uses it, he writes it. He only comes out with like 6 or 7 songs a year.
Yeah.
And that, of course, as you know, has been a big debate in the indie community. Do clients or family members or those you've ever helped hit on you when you're at work?
I don't normally have those kinds of things happen. The older ladies that might fancy me every now and then, but it's cute, you know.
As someone who did a really darn good job mixing your album, I was curious, what DAW, digital audio workstation, do you use?
I used GarageBand for the whole thing. So the thing with the DAW is, I mean, digital recording is digital recording. So the DAW is just the system that's going to capture what you're recording into it. But I used that for the general mixing, but then for a lot of the sound enhancements and some because I mastered it myself too, for better or for worse.
Right.
And I used a lot of Waves plugins. I don't know if you've used.
Yes, Isotope, Waves.
I had a friend who had some input, in terms of EQing things, but basically I just went through it until I got the sound that I liked, which I thought I had every day for about a year. And every day I'd wake up and I had to change everything.
How do you feel about AI?
To be used in music,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Some people have said to me that they don't use it at all. If you use auto tune or if you use stem separation, that is AI. Now, I know what people mean by not using AI, and that is allowing AI to write your music. Like you tell it, oh, I want something that sounds like a rave, or I want something to sound punk rock, and then you feed it some lyrics, and then boom, it comes up. Oh, and I want my singer to be a woman or a man, and I want him to sound like this and that. And they do these composite voices. So that seems to be a contention.
there's a lot you can do with it, obviously. I won't do it. I just won't do it.
I don't either.
I'm a purist through and through. I think the best music that was ever made in terms of rock came out of the 70s, where the sound was pure, the guitar playing was pure, The drumming was fantastic. The vocals were all brilliant. The songs were great. And there was nobody using anything to help them along except for creativity and hard work. And for me, there's no other way to do it. I will never, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. My heart is, I am in the Eagles, Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Rush, Dave Matthews, The Police. And then I have my love affair with 80s glam metal, right? Hair metal, Motley Crue, Rat, White Snake, Dokken.
I had a feeling we had a lot in common that way because you just named every single band I like.
To me, that's the great. And then, of course, I love the 90s as well. I was really coming of age, starting to play out all the time in the 90s, and the grunge era changed
That's when the music industry changed, don't you think?
overnight. Overnight.
Yeah.
Literally changed overnight. I remember it. It was Nirvana that changed the entire music scene at that time. Smells Like Teen Spirit came on, and the 80s were over. Like there, right then and there, as soon as it came out, as far as I'm concerned.
So I'm a prog rock fan, and I'm noticing it seems to come and go. Like there are moments in music history where a band like Pink Floyd or Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, well, I think there's only one left of them. It just suddenly comes back.
Do it.
So, is there anything you would like the audience to know about community building from your perspective? I mean, not just as a chaplain, but as a person and a musician.
Well, the first thing is I can say that I haven't always been very good at it. You mentioned earlier there's not a lot of following, and that's, I'm an only child, and I grew up very not a loner. I don't want to make it sound like, I'm a loner and a rebel and all, because that's not the case. But I tend to do work on my own. And so, like with this album, for instance, I put an enormous amount of time into the whole thing. And then I finally got done and I was just tired. And I just put it out there and I haven't even hardly thought about it for a year, which is really sad because I believe it deserves to be heard and I really should.
I do too.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this, and I'm very thankful to you for that, by the way. So, as for community building, New England has the Providence area has a pretty vibrant community of musicians. And I'm not a huge part of it just because when I'm not working or playing out myself, I'm home, because
Well, it's interesting you say that because a lot of my guests have said to me, some of us, like myself, for example, we are studio musicians. I'm 64.
yeah,
I also have diabetes with peripheral neuropathy. I can't jump around the stage like I used to. I mean, I'm in LA and I have people ask me, oh, wow, are you interested in being in a band? But anyway, I was going to say that my guests who play live, like yourself, have said the only way to get a real following is to play live because, you can do a lot of marketing and campaigning, but as far as that goes, it's I suppose it's good, and I'm just starting to ramp up my own marketing strategy. I've been on Spotify since July of last year. I think I've got 31 followers. So
well, you got
I'm
to
not,
keep chipping away. You got to keep pushing.
oh, I know, I know. I mean, I don't even have a song that's hit over 1,000 views yet. There's one person he had over 15,000 views. He goes, oh, yeah, yeah. He says, that's been out a while. I said, what's a while? He goes, a month. A month?
Jockeying.
You got 15,000. There's a band, a punk rock band that you may have seen his interview, Sebastian with the Creeping Candies. They are like globally known. They're celebrating 40 years. And they also have huge numbers on YouTube, followings. Incredible band. And as you can tell, I like all genres. So that's why I'm still waiting to get either a classical person or a rapper on the show. I do have some rappers in mind that,
Yes, that would be great. That'll be a totally different kind of twist on things.
well, it's not really. I mean, I just, I don't want to be the guy who just interviews rockers. I mean, yes, I do like rock.
I have a thing for 90s hip hop. Like when the Chronic came out, I loved it. That kind of era, Warren G,
Mhm.
I kind of love that 90s era hip hop.
In fact, I'm gonna. She just told me this last night. A friend of mine, I don't have her album name in front of me, but Vanessa Tottle, she's from Auckland, New Zealand. She's releasing a new album on Saturday, and her genre is trip hop.
That's a new one on me.
Well, at first I thought it was, was that like hip hop while doing acid, or what is that? You know,
And now I have to listen. Absolutely.
as a drummer, when you were 11, I think that's what you said when you
Yeah,
started.
I
You were in a
started.
band called The Shade. Did you write a lot of the songs? Did you also play guitar and drums? Or I mean, it's kind of tough to do at once, but
I started playing drums when I was 11. The Shade, I was in a few bands. I think my first band was called Mystic Witch. That was some kind of basement metal band, but we played out a little bit. The Shade is a band that I was with from about 18 to maybe 23 or 24. An original band. Bass player is a dear lifelong friend of mine, as is the guitar player. We have a long history together. When we were in our early 20s, we were playing out and we were doing very, very well. And we had some great music. And we put an album together. And subsequently, for reasons that need not be talked about, the band, after going into the studio 30 years ago and cutting that album, disbanded. Uh,
okay.
so in the last 2 years, we have come back together.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. So we have I finished recording a 5 song set, a 5 song set of
Like an EP? Like an EP?
an EP kind of. And I have done a couple of shows recently. So basically, it's like Spinal Tap 30 years later. We get, you know,
That's a good one,
but I
Spike.
have to tell you, that is my love and my passion. That I have always been the drummer. As a matter of fact, the guitar player, again, a dear friend of mine, he was the person who really inspired me to start playing guitar.
Oh,
I've always been a frustrated guitar player as a drummer, basically. Uh,
I've always just been frustrated, but that's fine.
well, that's there's medication for that. We can uh yeah, so that's the Shade. So we are actually going to be putting out another CD. We have some songs we had written, and
Well, you just dated yourself. CD, huh?
that's true. Well, baby for the last album, so technically that's relevant. So yeah, that's that. We're practicing. I feel great behind the drums. I'm much more a drummer than a guitar player. I feel much more, I mean, I don't want to say accomplished, but much more proficient on every level as a drummer uh, than a guitar player. But I use the guitar as a writing tool, a ministry tool, and a money making tool as well when I'm out, doing my thing in the bar restaurant. But drums are my love. Again, I grew up loving Neil Peart, huge Neil Peart Rush fan. Love Rush, and Neil was my favorite, still is.
I've seen them once. They're really good.
I saw them 5 times, and unfortunately, Neil's no longer with us. So that's really my background. I approach the guitar very percussively because I'm a drummer first and foremost. I learned basically on my own guitar. I mean, my buddy inspired me and he showed me some things, but using YouTube, I love the guitar. I love playing. I finally.
You're very good, and you do quite a good job on your album. And speaking of your album, the song that is fading in right now is a song from Unclean and Sober called "Just Like Yesterday." So, if you dig that, please check out Justin's Spotify account. He needs some love. So do I, but he needs it more. Justin, I want to thank you so much for joining me today here on NDT.
Peter, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I didn't know what to expect. I've never done anything like this.
Not very unpredictable.
I'll just follow right along, right? That's the way to do it. So thank you for what you're doing for the community, for having people like me and giving us a platform and a spotlight. And I appreciate what you're doing, and I'll certainly pass you on to those I know as well.
Okay. Well, thank you, Justin, and everyone. Justin, Bryan, we will see you again. Let's stay in touch. Good night, everyone.
But this time it will be different, just like yesterday. 5 o'clock and they're back again. Oh, familiar demons calling out my name. One more time, it's a glass of wine to send them on the way. When tomorrow comes, I'll be on that freedom train. This time I will get it right, and this time I will win the fight. With heaven's help, I will make it through the day. This day will be the day when everything changes in a brand new way. I know you know that I said that yesterday, but this time it will be different, just like yesterday. An empty bottle down the drain again. I really thought this time I would be free. Don't you worry, I will make amends. Oh, you have my word, this time it's destiny. Yeah. This time I will get it right, and this time I will win the fight. With heaven's help, I will know what freedom means. This day will be the day when everything changes in a brand new way. I know you know that I said that yesterday, but this time it will be different, just like yesterday. Just like yesterday.